Hi, I'm Lisa. I'm a registered dietitian with Tahoe Forest Health System. I'm also a mom of 3, and I want to chat today about food safety and pregnancy. One of my biggest pet peeves is when you do a search for nutrition and pregnancy, the first thing you find is a laundry list of do not eat foods. This can increase stress and anxiety and worry, which is kind of the last thing that we need. I've put together a handout with clear and concise bullet points that can help walk you through all the kind of necessary information and help calm that stress. Our bodies do a lot of cool things when we're pregnant. One of them is it adjusts our immune system to accommodate baby, since baby's not part of our body. Because of this adaptation, it does make us more susceptible to illness. Food can contain bacteria and virus that can cause these illnesses, so it is important to take more precaution when we're pregnant than when we're not. My first tip is to follow basic food safety guidelines and procedures. So washing your hands before cooking, keep cooking on a clean space, purchasing food from reputable places, stores, and restaurants that are also following food safety procedures. A few hot tips for your home kitchen is we don't want to let food sit out at room temperature for longer than 2 hours. At 2 hours, we want to put that food back in the refrigerator or we want to throw it out. Leftovers, even if we keep them in the fridge, we want to keep those for only 3 to 5 days. After that, we want to throw them out as well. Temperature is really important to keep food safe. So cold temperatures can kill bacteria and viruses or at least slow their growth down. Hot temperatures can kill them as well. So we basically want to keep food either in the refrigerator or the freezer, or we want to cook them to the proper temperature. Most of the time it's between 145 and 165. I have those exact temperatures on that handout. I do recommend using a really inexpensive meat thermometer that you can get at any grocery store to check the cooking temperatures, especially of your animal proteins. Pasteurization is a heat process that food manufacturers use, again, to kill the bacteria and viruses. I highly recommend looking for that on labels. We're gonna go through a few of these kind of high-risk foods and talk about what would be okay during pregnancy and what we maybe wanna limit. Dairy is one of the first things. We really wanna look for that term pasteurized on dairy. We wanna avoid unpasteurized dairy, milk and cheese specifically. Soft cheese is often on that do not eat list. In the US, most soft cheese is made with pasteurized milk, and so that would be okay for you to eat during pregnancy. Imported cheese we get from other countries, typically is not made with pasteurized cheese, so just double check that label. Meat is another high-risk food. We really do want to cook our animal proteins to the proper temperature and not consume raw meat. Keep raw meat separate from cooked foods or produce. Deli meat is also a really common high-risk food. This is a higher chance of containing listeria, which is a bacteria that can harm ourselves and our babies when we're pregnant, so we do want to reduce our risk. I do love a turkey sandwich though, so I don't necessarily want to cut out all deli meat. I have a few tips of how we can handle that. I recommend heating deli meat in the microwave and then using it in the sandwich, or doing kind of like a grilled cheese. So you're cooking that sandwich and heating that deli meat to steaming. There's other sandwich options too, sometimes we forget about. So doing an egg salad sandwich, a tuna salad sandwich, using hummus or nut butter, even cooking our own chicken or turkey breast and slicing it thin and using that in sandwiches can reduce our risk for that listeria infection. Eggs is another high-risk food, and I love talking about eggs because eggs and all these foods I've mentioned so far have a lot of nutrients that our bodies and our babies need during pregnancy. So eggs contain really high quality protein. They contain a nutrient called choline, which is really important for babies' brain development. So I want you to eat eggs. I just want you to cook them all the way through, and I want that yolk to be kind of firm and cooked through. Another thing with eggs is to watch out for products that might contain raw eggs. So cookie dough, Caesar dressing, hollandaise sauce, meringue, mousse, eggnog is a little less common. The good news is these products, when they're sold in the store, they're typically pasteurized. So again, look for pasteurized on the label and those foods would be okay. Where we want to watch out for those is when they're homemade or they're maybe made in a restaurant. I always recommend asking about products like that when you're eating out, and if you're unsure or your server's unsure, maybe make a different choice. Seafood is another high-risk food. Seafood, I would say for the most part, we want to eat cooked, especially shellfish. Shellfish accounts for about 75% of the foodborne illness from seafood. So things like oysters and clams, again, contain a lot of nutrition that's great for you and baby. We just want to eat those cooked for now. Raw fish. Ideally, to reduce the most risk, we want to eat that cooked as well. This always brings up the love of sushi, which I share. Cool thing about sushi is that, one, if you do go out for sushi and you love sushi, there's a lot of rolls that have cooked proteins in them, so I'd recommend going that route. And then in the US, fish served at sushi restaurants has to meet kind of like health safety rules for human consumption. So it's actually usually treated either with a cold process or a chemical process. It's something you could ask your sushi restaurant that you go to of how they treat their fish, but to be absolutely safe, I recommend eating cooked fish. Mercury is another concern when we're talking about seafood, and we do want to limit high mercury fish. I'd say most of these fish aren't eaten like commonly at home, but maybe they're eaten out a little bit more. Some of the high mercury fish are swordfish, shark, king mackerel, tilefish, and then I would also limit ahi, maybe have that occasionally. So speaking of tuna, canned tuna would be an okay option. I want the skipjack tuna, that's fine a few times a week. Again, makes a great sandwich. Fish has a lot of, again, really good nutrition for us and baby. I really recommend including salmon or sardines, either fresh or in a can, really similar to tuna as well, as we're gonna get some healthy fats in that. The last food I wanna mention is fruits and vegetables. So most people are surprised to hear that fruits and vegetables are the cause of more than 50% of foodborne illness. And we're not going to tell you to stop eating those, right? Of course, we need as much of that in our diet as possible, but we just, again, want to proceed with caution. My biggest tip is to wash all produce at home just under cold running water. You don't need a produce wash. I would also avoid pre-cut vegetables and fruit unless you're going to cook it. And then unpasteurized juices can be another kind of tricky thing. So asking if juice is pasteurized, looking for that on the label. If you make juice at home in a juicer that's going to be unpasteurized, that would be okay, but just make sure you wash the produce first before you juice it. So those are kind of my top tips. I know it's a lot of information. Again, I have a really great handout to kind of help guide you through this that's available on our website. And I encourage you to check out our other resources there as well. It's tfhd.com/wellness. Best of luck on your pregnancy journey.